If you tried to survive on raw food alone, the way every other primate on Earth still does, you would need to chew for almost 12 hours a day, every single day, just to get enough calories to stay alive. No days off, no shortcuts, just constant, exhausting chewing from sunrise until you fell asleep. That's not an exaggeration. That's what a raw diet actually costs a body your size. And somewhere around 2 million years ago, one invention made that entire problem disappear. And in doing so, it didn't just change what our ancestors ate. It changed what they were. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the moment humans learned to cook, almost everything about the human body, your teeth, your gut, your jaw, even your brain, started rewriting itself. Here's where it starts. Every other primate spends most of its waking life eating raw plants and tough raw meat, because raw food is brutally hard to get energy from. Your gut has to do enormous work to break it down. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, spend nearly half their day just chewing, not hunting, not resting, chewing, and their brains, compared to their bodies, stayed roughly the same size for millions of years, because raw food never gave them the surplus energy to grow anything bigger. Now imagine an early human trying to survive that way, but with a body that needed even more energy than a chimpanzee's, because it was carrying something extraordinarily expensive to run, a bigger brain. There's a problem hiding in that sentence. A brain that large, on a raw food diet, shouldn't have been possible. The math doesn't work. Raw food alone couldn't supply enough usable energy to fuel a brain that size and keep the rest of the body running too. Something had to change the equation. That something was fire. Archaeologists have found burned bone fragments and ash deposits at sites controlled by early human ancestors dating back roughly 1 million years, in places like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Clear evidence that fire wasn't just something they occasionally encountered after a lightning strike. It was something they were beginning to use deliberately again and again in the same places. And once you can use fire reliably, you can cook. When you cook food, you're not just making it taste better. You're doing a huge part of your digestion before the food ever reaches your mouth. Heat breaks down tough plant fibers. It denatures proteins in meat, unraveling them so your gut barely has to work to extract the energy inside. A piece of cooked meat can hand your body significantly more usable calories than the exact same piece eaten raw. Not because the meat changed, but because your body no longer has to spend nearly as much energy breaking it down. Cooked food hands your body dramatically more usable calories, for far less metabolic effort than the same food eaten raw. That difference sounds small. It wasn't. Suddenly, an early human wasn't spending 6 hours a day just chewing to survive. That freed up time and freed up energy had to go somewhere. And researchers studying human evolution believe a large share of it went straight to the brain, not gradually. Over millions of years, the way most evolutionary changes happen. Startlingly fast, once cooking became a regular part of life. And once that extra energy was available, the body started making trades. Think about what a raw food body actually needs. Massive teeth for grinding tough plant matter. A huge, powerful jaw to generate that grinding force. An enormous gut to slowly break down food the mouth couldn't fully process. All of that tissue is expensive to grow and expensive to maintain. Cooking made most of it unnecessary. So the body did something ruthless. It shrank what it no longer needed, and it funneled that saved energy into what suddenly mattered more. Human teeth got smaller, noticeably smaller than the teeth of earlier human ancestors who lived before regular cooking. Our jaw muscles weakened dramatically compared to other primates, so much that some researchers believe a change in jaw muscle genetics may have even been necessary to allow the skull to grow the way it did, because a jaw as powerful as chimpanzees would have literally clamped down on skull growth from the outside. Our gut shortened too, using far less of the body's total energy budget than chimpanzees' gut does. Some estimates put the human gut at using nearly 10% less of our resting energy than you'd expect for a primate our size. And the brain, the most energy-hungry organ in the entire body, burning through roughly 1/5 of your resting calories right now, kept growing and growing and growing. This wasn't a coincidence happening at the same time as cooking. Increasingly, researchers who study this transition believe it's a direct trade. Smaller mouth, smaller gut, bigger brain. Cooking is the reason the math finally worked. There's another shift cooking forced that rarely gets mentioned. Raw food. You can eat the moment you find it. You grab it and chew as you walk. Cooked food can't work that way. It needs a fire, it needs time, and it needs someone willing to wait instead of eating on the spot. That single requirement may have pushed early humans towards something they hadn't needed before. Sharing food deliberately, gathering around one central point to eat together, instead of each individual foraging and eating alone as they went. Cooking didn't just feed the body. It may have built the very first dinner table. But there's a second change that mattered just as much, and it has nothing to do with calories. Fire pushed back the night. For nearly all of human evolution before fire, when the sun went down, the day was effectively over. Predators owned the darkness, and a body without claws, without great speed, without much strength compared to what was hunting it, had exactly one safe move. Stay still, stay quiet, and wait for morning. Once early humans controlled fire, that changed completely. The fire became a wall between them and the dark, a place predators wouldn't come near, where the group could stay awake, warm, fed, and together for hours after the sun disappeared. And once you have several extra hours a day where you're safe, awake, fed, and not desperately chew and survive, you have to do something with that time. That time is very likely where a huge part of human social life actually began. Sitting around a fire at night, fed and safe, with nothing urgent left to do, isn't just downtime. It's the ideal condition for talking, for telling stories, for teaching, for planning tomorrow's hunt, instead of just reacting to today's hunger. Some anthropologists argue that the campfire, not the cave or the hunting ground, is where complex human conversation actually took shape, because it was the first environment in our history where humans regularly had spare time and attention to give to each other. So look at everything sitting on top of one invention, a body that could afford a massive brain, because cooking finally made the calorie math work. Hours of safety after dark that older human ancestors never had. A shared space built for exactly one thing raw survival never allowed. Sitting still together, with nothing left to fight for that day and nothing left to chew. Cooking didn't just change what was on the menu. It rewired the skull. It shrank the gut. It bought back the night. And it built the very first room humans ever had to simply be with each other, safe, fed, and awake, long after the sun that used to end their day. Every time you sit down to a warm meal without thinking twice about it, you're standing at the end of a chain that starts nearly 2 million years ago, with an ancestor discovering that fire could do half their digesting for them, and deciding, without knowing it, exactly what kind of species we were about to become. If you think fire changed everything, wait until you see what happened the day early humans figured out how to carry it with them.